It's time the church got its voice back, took up the armor of God, and wielded our weapons of warfare. Welcome to Restoring Your Voice with your host, David C. McGuire, Prophet for God, where you will get equipped for the battles we face daily as Christians.
Okay, everybody, welcome to this episode of Restoring Your Voice, a very special episode. Going to be a bit different from what I normally do, and I just felt like, with led and then confirmation as well from the Lord about what I really needed to speak on tonight. So for the first time ever, I am opening up about my journey at the hands of abuse. And let me say, I hope that different crowds get something from this. This isn't just for one crowd. I think the number one crowd I want to get something out of this is the crowd that when abuse victims come forward, immediately you start to condemn and you start to judge, and start to say stupid things. Oh, you should have come forward earlier, or ask stupid questions. Why didn't you come forward before this? Okay. Okay, you don't know. And unless you've been and suffered at the hands of an abuser, you have absolutely no idea what it's like. Okay, so that's one crowd I hope to get to touch and reach tonight. Another crowd, of course, is you may be going through this right now and you haven't come forward yet, or you're not sure, or maybe what I speak on tonight may highlight something for you. Okay, I'm here for you and I'm not against you. Okay, I'm not here to condemn you in any way, shape, or form. I'm also hoping that those who are now on the other side of this and now suffering the fallout from this, a fallout that lasts decades. Okay, people, you don't understand how long this lasts, and the scars remain. It's not just a simple, oh, you're not being forgiving. Okay, oh, you need to get over it. Just forgive. You're holding on to things. Okay, again, stupid statements. All right, frankly, stupid statements. But if you're on the outside, I just saw this come out. Now this is what goes back to 2023 with the whole debacle with Mike Bickle, and then more victims, one victim, then another, and another coming forward, and of course, and then it continues on. There's no way I could actually. There's been so much that's come out in 2024 alone. I couldn't even. That's how bad it is. That I couldn't even. It would take multiple episodes, probably at least a week's worth, just for me to cover. That's how bad it is. But I'll just mention some of the major ones, not demeaning what anybody else has gone through. So we had IHOP, the big one, with Mike Bickle, right? One of the big ones. In other words, major and well known, I should say, in size and scope. Then later on, we had Gateway Church, okay, Robert Morris, and what happened there. And now we have Daystar, and now coming into Michael Brown. So you may know him as Dr. Brown. I refuse to call him Dr. Brown anymore. But Michael L. Brown, Line of Fire, all of that, all right, has just come out recently. Okay, I'll this is not the show for it, but I will speak more on that. But the thing is that it's taken, depending on the person, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years to come forward about this. And let me say, I understand. And so I hope to cover tonight. I hope to be able to cover, and say, hey, I was there. Okay. When you're in a certain environment, outsiders looking in may say, what in the world is going on? That is not normal. That is bad. That is evil. That is, and they're all right. But the thing is when you're the one immersed in that, okay? When you're the one immersed in all of that, it's hard to see, especially if you're raised up in it. So for me, it was my family. For you, it might be a church. It might be a ministry. And I understand. So for me, okay, I grew up with a father who was abusive in every way you can think of. Okay, he was so narcissistic. Okay, he made narcissists look normal by comparison. I'm not exaggerating. Okay, I'm not going to go into nitty gritty detail. Okay, um, but there was stuff about him I didn't even find out until recently. Okay, so recent years that I found out. All right, this is less than I think within the last 5 years or so. But it's only been not that long of a time. And so I grew up in a household. I said a bit about this before, where my father, okay, was an extremely violent man. Okay, and that's putting it lightly. Okay, he was verbally abusive. Okay, he knew he could get what he wanted if he raised his voice, if he yelled. Okay, but that's not where it ended, friends. And so forgive me if I'm a little bit all over the place tonight, but I'm just doing my best to talk about something I've never talked publicly about before. So please excuse me if I seem a little bit all over the place tonight. It was so bad that my mom didn't leave him because he even knew how to twist words. Okay, he knew what to get through. So bad that he would threaten suicide. He would threaten to kill himself if my mom left him. That's a whole new level of manipulation, friends. And that's the kind of man that he was. And it wasn't ended there. No, 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 no. Anything could set him off at a moment's notice. If okay, me and my sister were being, according to him anyways, too loud just for reading the newspaper. That's not normal. I read. I love to read. Okay, kids can do whatever they want. But my dad would get violently angry, throwing things at the very least, if not coming after us, if we were just too loud while he was reading the newspaper. Now we're not talking television, okay? Where he had to actually hear something. Okay, same thing. If we were a bit distracting while he filled out a job application, okay, he would lose it. He would rip up the job application. Okay. My dad, as far as I know, never held down a regular job ever. Okay, that's how bad it was. So there's that. So we have the yelling, the threatening, okay, things like this. Then he was physically abusive. Okay. We would get beaten for the whatever. And I clearly remember this. One time, I don't know, me and my sister were being, I guess we're acting up a little bit more than normal, and it was just my mom and my mom. So I'm going to tell your dad when he gets home. Let me tell you, friends, I shook. I did not sleep. I knew something bad was going to happen. And surely he came in that room and beat the living daylights out of both of us. Okay. We would have the most ridiculous levels of punishments leveled at us. Go kneel in the corner. I'm a kid. Okay. Not even, not even double digit age yet. Go kneel in the corner. That's your punishment. Go stand there for an hour. These are the ridiculous levels of punishment that he would come up with. Now, of course, we weren't the only ones to suffer from this. I found out that, you know, he was good at hiding his true identity to everybody else. Okay, to include my mother, when he would, obviously, I guess you could dating, and then they got married, but it didn't last long because guess what? Not long after they were married, my mom fixed him steak, and you know what he did because it wasn't cooked to his liking. He threw the plate of food across the room. Okay, that's deranged way of thinking. When something is not cooked to your liking, and your first reaction is to throw something. My dad was so bad that when I was a baby, he held my head under running water as a baby to try and to get me to stop crying. Thank God I wasn't killed. That's just the deranged person we're talking about. But oh, that's not bad yet. Oh, no, he had a family previous to ours whom he destroyed. Okay, back then, he was a violent alcoholic who would beat, he had a son and two daughters with that family, and he would beat his son for money to go buy himself some alcohol. So he destroyed that family completely. Okay, now also, my father would hide who he was to the public, and he would gaslight my mom like no tomorrow. We were late somewhere. It was my mom's fault. Couldn't have been him. Couldn't have been that he never helped us get ready. Could have been any of that. No. I mean, he would tear my mother down to everybody he knew. Okay, everybody he knew. He was good at this. He was masterful. So that when he passed away, okay, somebody he had been friends with for decades, when he died, helped him write a good obituary for him. How crazy is that? That's how good he was at manipulating what other people would think of him. That's how good he was at putting on a face to the outside world. Okay, but I guarantee you, friends, okay, that was not the environment inside of our house. Yeah, there were good times, obviously, but man, this stuff gets inside of you, friends. You know, you even grow up thinking, I don't want to ever be like that. And it gets inside of you, and it starts to warp your thinking, right? So now we have, like I said, gaslighting, verbal abuse, the physical abuse, violence of all kinds, throwing stuff, breaking things. Yet, you know what he did? He molested me. And I told my mother, and she dismissed it. She dismissed it. It's things like that cause victims not to come forward. When you try to come forward, and immediately you're dismissed. Immediately you're not believed. And how crazy is that? Knowing, by the way, and this is what I want to say is when you're in a lifestyle, okay, you can't see the forest for the trees. Okay, so my dad, I didn't know this, but he was dishonorably, yes, the worst discharge you could get from the army for flashing himself. Yes, for exposing himself. My mother knew this. Okay, she knew this. All right. He tried something with his daughter from the previous marriage, and that's why they end up moving out of state and cut us off completely. Okay, and yet still it didn't quite get through to my mother. Now, please hear me. I'm trying to get to the point that when you're in a certain environment, things start to become normal. What is obviously abnormal, what is obviously abhorrent, starts to become normal. So if you're wondering, Hey, why didn't these victims speak up further? I guarantee that some of them, at least, thought that it was okay. You read, for instance, the story of Tammy Woods and Mike Bickle. And, Mike Bickle, he was very good at what he did. That's why he got away with it for so long. He was very good at it. And what happened was it was normal for the longest time. It was normalized. I guess this is how things are meant to be, perhaps, is the thought that would go through somebody's head. And I'm not demeaning anybody. I'm trying to get it across. So this happens, but I still have this weird love for my dad, right? And so continuing on, who knows what else he might have done? I don't know. He died in 2014. But finally he tried something with my sister, and finally it's what prompted my mother to take us away from him and divorce him. And yet, even in all of that, the weirdest things happened. So my father ended up being institutionalized. Okay. And even then, my mom took us to visit him. You think that's not right? Yes. And then eventually, me and my sister were institutionalized. And my mom would bring my father to some of my therapy sessions. Why would my mom do that? Why would that be okay? But you don't understand when you're immersed in this type of stuff. Okay? Especially when you were previously married to somebody who was very, very good at verbal manipulation of people. Okay? It gets into you. Okay? And it's crazy because even when I was a teenager, late teens, junior high school time frame, I still didn't cut my dad off. I should have. All right, he should have never been allowed near us ever again. But you say, why didn't you leave him? What he did was wrong. I know. Now I know. Now I know full well just how wrong. But back then I didn't. Why? Because I was immersed in it. And it was crazy because there were times I would talk to my dad, and sometimes he'd get angry and he'd get that look. And unless you've stared into the face of somebody who can become violent, all right, you don't know what I'm talking about. But he was violent. And he would get this look. And I never had a relationship ever of any kind with my dad where I could be completely open about him with anything. And even worse than that, he never apologized. Yeah, I went through my entire life never hearing him apologize, not even on his deathbed. Not even then, not even prior to him dying that I had cut him off. I think the only reason is that my mother was there, okay, and called me up to let me know he was dying. Okay, I still didn't receive an apology from him ever. Not he died without ever apologizing for anything at all. That was my life growing up. And I cut him off initially because of that, the not apologizing. But it still didn't get into me. No, I should have had nothing to do with him anymore, period, the end, for any reason. Because of all of the nonsense and all of the junk that he pulled. But it didn't happen. I think it may have one thread at a time started to unravel after he died. But it was a slow going process. I'm like, oh yeah, immediately, magically, I knew everything was wrong. No, I didn't. No, it took me a long time to realize how much and what should have happened and what didn't happen. It is not an easy thing. Okay? So just because a victim is no longer having a relationship with an abuser, okay, does not mean all of a sudden they've come to the light. Okay, I guarantee, friends, that it takes many, many years for things to come to the light. And for some people, it doesn't even happen then sometimes because of the way they've been immersed. And I don't have a perfect explanation. I'm just trying my best tonight to help you to understand. Whether you're on the outside looking in and you've never been, well, praise God, you've never had to, suffer from abuse. And I'm trying to help you to understand this. And for those who are either in the midst of it right now or trying to recover and heal, okay, I understand. No, I'm not going to go into detail after detail. Okay, I don't think that would be right for a number of reasons. But at the very least, I hope I can get out that I do understand. And that unless you've been on the receiving end of abuse, you don't understand. Okay. And so when people come out with allegations of abuse, the last thing anybody needs to do is start questioning, well, is this really true? Well, I'm not sure. Or whatever reasoning, whatever wording, and whatever things that people end up saying about this kind of thing. Okay, that is not at all, especially involving children. The first thing that needs to happen is the police need to get involved. Okay, especially and anything, any type of abuse, especially involving sexual abuse, whether an adult, by the way, whether an adult or a child, either the police need to get involved. Okay, there's no room for waiting. Okay, there is no let's handle this behind closed doors. No, no. Hey, if it turns out not to be true, then fine, but that should not be the first place we go. We should need to handle this, especially over this past year, right? Of allegate of things coming to light, of people that I'm sure many. I speak for myself. I think this is true as well. That many of us never expected this to come to pass, this to come to the light, this to happen. Maybe we may have known something was off, maybe not. Regardless, regardless, this is heartbreaking stuff, and I don't rejoice over it. But victims, hey, if nobody else, hey, I'm standing by you. Okay, I've got your back. I may not know you personally, and you may not know me personally. We may have never spoken, but I've got your back. And when I come across this type of stuff and I see it, guess what I want to do? I want to pray. Okay, so we may never speak, but know that I'm praying for you. Know that, please. And it's breaking my heart to see this, but please, I hope at least tonight I've been able to shed light, peel back the curtain, demystify things like this. Please don't ever don't ever ask those questions ever again, please. Why did you wait for so long to come forward? Oh, you should have come forward now. Oh, you're just being unforgiving. You need to move on. Don't ever do that. Ever, please. Okay, you're just downplaying things. And all you are now is being part of the problem of why abuse victims don't come forward. Okay, there is a lot of shame involved in this. You say, well, it makes no sense. It should be brought to light. Yes, but that's what happens with victims. Okay, that's what happens with victims. It is a shameful thing to deal with. Why did this happen? No, it didn't happen. You know what? I just want to forget about it, move on. How about that? How many abuse victims? I guarantee every single one has tried, you know what? It's been too painful. I want to move on. I want to forget about this. But we don't, friends. We can't. It's impossible. And until things come to the light, and true healing can never begin. True healing can never begin. So I hope this helps at least, in some small way. I have a very, very tiny reach, right? Minuscule, probably a drop in a drop. And I'm okay with that. As long as I can help one person, I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for fame and fortune. So I hope that this helped. Okay. I hope this shed some light. And I hope it helps people knowing that, hey, you're not alone. I want that probably the best thing before I end is you're not alone. Okay. Isolation is the name of the game for the enemy. And when abuse happens, physical, sexual, verbal, whatever, people can often think they're alone in this. It's just them, but I'm telling you, it's not. It's never just you. Guaranteed you are not alone. Okay. If it's happened to you, guaranteed it's happened to other people. And most likely, if that person did it to one person, they've done it to multiple people. Guaranteed. It's the way these things go. And of course, I hope I've been able to shed light on those who have been fortunate and blessed enough never to have experienced abuse of any kind. To at least, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I don't. Maybe you can now think to yourself, hey, yeah, maybe I don't. No, I have no clue. I've never walked in an inch in their shoes. Good. And if you've asked those questions or said those statements like, why didn't you come forward? You should have come forward. You know what the best thing you can do right now, if you can? Apologize to those people. If you said it online, then if you can, find those people on social media and apologize to them. If not, make a blanket statement of apology. Okay, but that, believe it or not, will go a long way. Okay, that will absolutely go a long way. So, this is some. Thank you for sticking with me on this. It's a very difficult thing to open up about. Not, and so I thank you for being with me. And yeah, I'll be coming forward in the days to come. I'll be speaking about the latest incident with Michael Brown.